Hello sports fans, welcome to Spruce Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 4 college football predictions. So last week in Week 3, I had a record of 17-4, and that brings my record on the season to 55-10. But getting right into things and kicking things off with Texas Tech at Utah. And this is a really interesting game. Both these teams gotten off to great starts this year, and they're both 3-0. And in this game, we have a really interesting matchup, as we have an elite Texas Tech offense against the elite Utah defense. Texas Tech offense is the highest scoring offense in the country through 3 games, as they're scoring 58 points per game. And Texas Tech also has the second best passing offense with 387 passing yards per game. And quarterback Baron Morton actually leads the country with 11 touchdown passes. And then Texas Tech, they also run the ball really effectively. But they match up against the Utah defense that hasn't allowed more than 10 points in a game, and they're allowing an average of 8.3 points per game. And this Utah defense is also really good against the pass, and they're also really good against the run, as they're allowing 134 passing yards per game and 90 rushing yards per game. Now, on the flip side, Utah's offense is also good. They aren't quite as good as Texas Tech, but this offense is still quite good. They're run by quarterback Devin Dampier, and he's looked great so far this year as both a passer and as a runner. And Utah's offense is scoring 45.7 points per game. And the Utah run game has also been great so far, as they're averaging 290 rushing yards per game, which currently ranks 7th in the country. Now, they match up against a Texas Tech defense that is also good, allowing about 12 points per game, and they've done an unbelievable job stopping the run so far, allowing just 41 rushing yards per game and 1.5 yards per carry. But this is a really tough game to predict, and even though both these teams are pretty good defensively, I do think this game is going to be a shootout, because I think Texas Tech's offense is good enough to score against a tough defense, and I think Utah's offense is good enough to keep up. Now, I do worry about Utah scoring enough if they can't run the ball, but when you factor in what Devin Dampier can do as a runner, I think they'll be able to run the football pretty effectively. But this is a game I really have no idea which way it's going to go. I think this game comes down to who has the ball last, because I think this is going to be a shootout. And this game is pretty much a coin flip for me. Utah's at home, I'll take them to get the win, but this game could really go either way. But I've got Utah 34-30 in a great game. Up next, we got UAB at Tennessee. So Tennessee's looking to bounce back after they lost to Georgia last week, and they face a UAB team that's 2-1, but just isn't that good. And this is a great opportunity for Tennessee to get back on track. On the offensive side of the ball for Tennessee, I think they're going to have a huge game, as they face a UAB defense that's allowing 36 points per game. And on the other side, UAB has been okay offensively, but I don't really see them doing much against a great Tennessee defense. But I don't see this game being that close. I think Tennessee gets back on track, and they dominate UAB 52-10. Up next, we have Oregon State at Oregon. So this is a game that shouldn't be that close, although it is a rivalry game, so anything can happen. But Oregon, they've looked really good so far this year, sitting at 3-0, and Oregon State has not been good, as they're 0-3. The Oregon offense has been really good, scoring 54 points per game, and I think they're going to have a huge game against an Oregon State defense that is horrible, allowing 38.3 points per game. Now, the Oregon State offense isn't terrible, but I just don't really think they're going to have much offensive success against a great Oregon defense. But Oregon State, they lost to Texas Tech 45-14 last week. I think this is going to be a very similar game. I've got Oregon 42-7. Up next, we have Kent State at Florida State. This is another game that's going to be a blowout. Florida State is 2-0, and they've looked really good so far this year. And then they'll face a Kent State team that does have a win, which is progress from last year where they went 0-12. But that one win was a 4-point win over an FCS team. But this should be a very easy win for Florida State. Their offenses look great, their defenses look great, and I think Florida State wins very easily. I've got Florida State 55-6. Moving on, we have Auburn at Oklahoma. So this is a game that should be pretty good. Both these teams are 3-0, and this game should be fairly close. On the offensive side of the ball for Oklahoma, they've looked really good this year, scoring 34 points per game, and quarterback John Mateer has been great, and looks like an early season Heisman candidate. Now, Mateer and the Oklahoma offense could have a pretty good game, because they face an Auburn defense that has been pretty good, allowing 14 points per game, although Auburn hasn't been great stopping the pass. Now, on the offensive side of the ball for Auburn, they're actually led by former Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold, and he's leading the offense in scoring 37 points per game, and rushing for almost 250 yards per game. But the Auburn offense faces an Oklahoma defense that has gotten off to a great start, as they're actually 4th in the country, allowing just 6.3 points per game. Plus, they've done a great job stopping the run, allowing just 96 rushing yards per game. But this is a game that should be somewhat close, at least on paper, when you see you've got, I think, the number 11 team against the number 22 team. But I don't really think this is a great matchup for Auburn. I think Oklahoma's offense has a good game. I think they shut down this Auburn run game. And I've got Oklahoma winning convincingly by a score of 34-14. Up next, we got Purdue at Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is coming off a 41-40 loss to Texas A&M, and they're now 0-2 on the season. And they need to win out if they want to have any chance at the college football playoff. And I definitely think they have a good chance to get their first win of the season this week. Because they play a Purdue team that's 2-1, and they're just not very good, as their 2 wins are against Ball State and an FCS team. But Notre Dame, they're the much better team here. I think their offense continues to play extremely well against a Purdue defense that's not very good. And this is a really big opportunity for Notre Dame's defense to really get going in the right direction after they've allowed 34 points per game in their first 2 games. But I have Notre Dame getting their first win of the season. I've got them winning big, 52-7. Moving on, we have Tulane at Ole Miss. So this is an interesting one. Tulane, they've looked pretty good so far this year, as they're 3-0, and they just beat Duke fairly convincingly last week. But they now match up against an Ole Miss team that's also 3-0, although Ole Miss, they haven't been super convincing as of late. Although I do think a big reason to that is they've been without starting quarterback Austin Simmons. But Austin Simmons is set to return from his ankle injury this week, and he leads an Ole Miss offense that is still scoring 44.7 points per game. And I think the Ole Miss offense could have a big game, because they face a Tulane defense that isn't great, allowing 20.3 points per game. Now, on the flip side, the Tulane offense has done a good job so far this year, scoring 30 points per game, and they've ran the ball really effectively, rushing for 222 yards per game. And they match up against an Ole Miss defense that has been decent but nothing crazy, allowing 21.7 points per game, but they've been bad against the run, allowing 194 rushing yards per game. But this is a game where I can definitely see the upset, and if Tulane can get the upset win, that would be huge towards their case for the college football playoff. But I think the upset is definitely possible because I don't think this is a great matchup for the Ole Miss defense. Because what Tulane does well and wants to do, which is running the football, Ole Miss struggles to stop. But because neither team is great defensively, I do think this game is going to turn into a shootout, and I think Ole Miss is just simply going to outscore Tulane, and I've got Ole Miss in a shootout 38-24. Up next, we have Michigan at Nebraska. So this is a big game. Nebraska's 3-0, and they've looked pretty good so far this year, and Michigan is 2-1, and they just destroyed Central Michigan 63-3. And Michigan's offense was great last week with 63 points, and that's their highest point total since they also scored 63 back in week 3 of the 2021 season. But a big reason why Michigan was so good last week was quarterback Bryce Underwood, and he had a huge game as both a passer and as a runner. But Underwood and the Michigan offense, they get a tough matchup this week as they face Nebraska defense that is allowing just 8 points per game. And Nebraska actually has the best pass defense in the country, allowing just 60 passing yards per game. Although, they haven't been great at stopping the run, allowing teams to rush for 136 per game. Then on the flip side, Nebraska's offense has been good with an average of 49 points per game, and they've been really good through the air, averaging 366 passing yards a game. But they match up against the Michigan defense that's good, allowing 14.7 points a game and 182 passing yards per game. But this is a tough game to predict. This is a big opportunity for Nebraska to get their first win over a ranked team since 2016, and I definitely think Nebraska's got the chance to pull off the upset. Now, I am going to take Michigan to get the win, because I think their offense is going to have a big game on the ground, and I think the Michigan defense is going to contain Dylan Raiola and this Nebraska passing attack, so I'm going to take Michigan by a score of 23-20, but I would not be shocked to the upset. Moving on, we have Temple at Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech is coming off a big upset win over Clemson last week, and they need to avoid a letdown game. Luckily for them, they face Temple, who isn't exactly a very tough opponent. And Temple, they're 2-1, and they just got destroyed by Oklahoma last week. Now, I don't really have a ton to say about this game. Georgia Tech might get off to a slow start, but that's not going to prevent them from winning this game. I still think Georgia Tech wins easily 38-13. Up next, we have South Carolina at Missouri. So this is an interesting one. South Carolina was upset by Vanderbilt last week, losing 31-7, and they face a Missouri team that has been good, as they're 3-0. Now, a big reason Missouri has been so good is their offense, as they're scoring about 52 points per game. And quarterback Bo Perbula has 10 touchdowns in 3 games. Now, the Missouri offense matches up against a South Carolina defense that has been decent, allowing 17.3 points per game. Now, offensively for South Carolina, they haven't been amazing, and they put up just 7 points last week, although quarterback Lenore Sellers did leave that game early due to injury. But Sellers, he is expected to play in this week's game, as he's listed as probable. But the South Carolina offense has been pretty disappointing so far this year, scoring just 23 points per game, and now on top of their own offensive struggles, they have to face a great Missouri defense. But I have Missouri getting the win here, and I think pretty convincingly. I just don't think this South Carolina team is great. I think Missouri's offense continues to play well. I think Missouri's defense shuts down a South Carolina offense that's already struggling, and I've got Missouri handing South Carolina their second straight loss, and Missouri wins by a score of 34-17. Up next, we have Florida at Miami. So Florida's in a really tough spot, as they're 1-2 after back-to-back losses, and their schedule doesn't get any easier with Miami this week, and 7 of their final 9 opponents being ranked inside the top 25. But this is a Florida team with a lot of talent, they just haven't really played like it, especially offensively. But the Florida offense has struggled this year, scoring just 27 points per game, and they've been held under 20 points in back-to-back games. And quarterback DJ Lagway has also not been good, and he threw 5 interceptions last week in the loss to LSU. But Florida's offense, they face a Miami defense that has gotten off to a great start, allowing just 13 points per game. So I really don't think Florida's going to do much offensively. Now, offensively for Miami, they're great. They're scoring 40 points per game, and they just scored 49 last week on a good South Florida defense. And Miami, they match up against a Florida defense that has played pretty well, allowing 12.7 points per game. But this is a game where the upset is definitely a possibility, because Florida, they've got the talent to win this game, and if their defense can keep this game low scoring, and if DJ Lagway can protect the football, then I can definitely see that happening. But I definitely think that's a lot to ask for Florida, who just hasn't been very good. I think their defense could keep this lower scoring, but from what we've seen from this Florida offense, I just don't trust them, and I'm going to take Miami with the win by a score of 27-14. Moving on, we have Indiana hosting Illinois. This is a big game for both these teams. Both these teams have gotten off to great starts as they're 3-0, and they've been playing pretty well. Offensively for Illinois, they've looked great, scoring 45 points per game, and quarterback Luke Altmaier has played well with 8 touchdowns in his first 3 games. But they face an Indiana defense that is allowing 7.7 points per game, and they're still yet to allow a passing touchdown this season. Then on the flip side, the Indiana offense has been great, scoring 52 points a game, and they've been insanely good on the ground and through the air. In fact, they're rushing for over 300 yards per game. But they face a tough defense as Illinois is allowing 7.3 points per game, and they've been pretty good against both the run and the pass. And something to note, Illinois is going to be without their top corner, Xavier Scott, so I think that could lead to a big game for Indiana star receiver Elijah Surratt. But I really have no idea who's going to win this game, and this game can truly go either way. Both these teams are good offensively, but I think this is going to be a lower scoring defensive game because while both offenses are good, I think both defenses are slightly better. But I really have no idea who's going to win this game. I think Illinois is a slightly better team, plus they've got the slightly better defense. I want to take them in a defensive game, but they do have to go on the road, but I still got Illinois in a close game, 23-20. Moving on, we have Georgia State at Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt is coming off a huge upset win over South Carolina, as they won the game 31-7. And they don't need to avoid a letdown game. Now, you would expect them to be able to avoid a letdown, although they faced a Georgia State team that upset Vanderbilt last season. So I guess an upset is definitely a possibility here. But Georgia State, they're just not great. They're 1-2, and they've played pretty poorly in their first 3 games, as they're scoring just 20 points per game and allowing 40 points per game. And then you compare that to Vanderbilt, who's scoring 40 points a game and allowing just 10 points a game. But while Georgia State got the upset win last year, I don't see it happening again. I've got Vanderbilt easily 38-13. Up next, we have Southeastern Louisiana at LSU. This is a game that should not be close. We've got a top 5 team in LSU against an FCS team. But this is actually a big opportunity for LSU. Not to get a big win, because obviously they're playing an FCS team, but to get the offense going, as they're scoring just 20 points per game, and really need the offense to play a lot better, especially as their schedule starts to get harder starting next week. But I think LSU is going to win this game easily, even if their offense doesn't play that well. But I think their offense should be just fine against an FCS team. I've got LSU easily 42-3. Next game, we have Sam Houston at Texas. And this is a very similar game to the previous one. Really, the only difference is Sam Houston is an FBS team. But the Texas offense, they have not been anything too impressive, scoring just 24 points per game. And just like LSU, this is a great opportunity for them to really jumpstart their offense, as the Sam Houston defense is allowing nearly 40 points per game. Now, on the flip side, Sam Houston is only scoring about 22 points per game, and they have to face an elite Texas defense. But I don't think this game is going to be that close. I am interested to see what Texas looks like offensively. I do think they'll show some improvement, and I've got Texas winning 41-3. And our final game, we've got Michigan State at USC. So USC, they've looked really good so far this year as they're 3-0, and they have the second highest scoring offense in the country with an average of 55 points per game. And their passing offense has also been great, and quarterback Jaden Mayava is 5th in the country with 989 passing yards. And the USC offense, they face a Michigan State defense that is okay, allowing 23 points per game, although they have not been good against the pass, allowing over 270 passing yards per game. Now, on the offensive side of the ball for Michigan State, they've been pretty good, and quarterback Aiden Childs looks to have taken that next step forward. And Michigan State, they're scoring 35.3 points per game. And they face a USC defense that's allowing roughly 17 per game. But I've got USC with the win here. I think this could be close in the first half, but eventually I just think Mayava and this USC passing offense takes this game over, and I've got USC winning by a score 42-20. But those are my Week 4 college football predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of these big games. But that's all for this video. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.